vlog number 22. I'm here at the allotment. It's beautiful and sunny. It was the 10-year anniversary of the allotment last week, and there's a little vlog about that. And I was hoping for that 10 years that I would do a full a plot tour and show you everything that's growing at the moment and talk about how the allotment's changed over time, the things that are the same, the things that are different. So I didn't get a chance to do that last week, but it's a beautiful sunny day today and I have a little bit of time, so I'm going to do the tour today. Hope you enjoy it, and yeah, if you have any questions, if I don't mention something that you wish I had, please just send me a comment and I'll try and answer all of those. Yeah, hope you like it. It really has been the most amazing 10 years, and I'm so grateful that we've had them here in this amazing space. Having an allotment means that you have a place that you can be creative, that can change over time as you change and your family changes, and that's definitely what's happened here. So here's my little plot tour. I have two entrances to the allotment, this gateway and then the path that runs between myself and my plot neighbour. Over the years I've added to this gateway. My husband built me this nice arch and I've added trellises so that my thornless blackberry that you can see here can be trained over it as the year goes on. I've also acquired a few little gnomes and a snail that is also a plant pot, and I just like to have some flowers here. If I find them and they're in a bad position, I just move them to this little entranceway. There's some dandelions thrown in there too, and a few rogue raspberries, but I really like the way the arch makes a nice entrance to the plot. And I also have an old light fitting at the top there that I didn't want to see go to waste, so that's a nice ornament. My gate is beautiful, but as you can see, it still doesn't have anything there to hang it onto, so it just stands here. One day it will swing. I've got lots of perennials on the plot. So this is one of my rhubarbs. I think I probably have 5 or 6 rhubarbs now. This one comes up later than the others, so it's only just getting going now really. And I'll probably be able to pick this June and July time, I would have thought. I also have a little dwarf apple tree there that I moved from another garden a few years ago. And along this row of fruit bushes, I keep planting more and more chives. I just divide them every year and plant them along, and it's slowly making a really beautiful little avenue of chives. And as you can see, the blossom is just starting. This video was a couple of weeks ago. This is in full blossom now, so I'll have to do a little update on that. Some of the fruit bushes along this row were here when I arrived. There was a blackcurrant and a gooseberry. The red currant was really small at that point, and that was it. I've added a pink currant and another blackcurrant and also some raspberries. And the pink currant was really gorgeous last year, so I'm looking forward to that. And I've given these fruit bushes a really good prune this year as well, but they seem to be coming on really well. And as you can see, there are loads and loads of little currants forming. The flowers are just finishing. So I'm hoping for a really good crop. The metal frame you can see here was some legs from an old trampoline that we had in the garden. And I just put them in on end, and then I have some netting. This is just scaffolding netting, and I put that over once the fruit bushes have finished flowering. That way earlier on the bees can get in to pollinate and get the nectar, and later on it gets netted so that the birds don't eat all the fruit. But I do have some smaller fruit bushes. I have a couple of black currants dotted about, and I just leave those unnetted so the birds can share the harvest. This red currant is absolutely massive this year, and it's completely laden. It's going to be just gorgeous once all those red currants arrive. Then finally at this end I've got a black currant, and as you can see underneath there's lots of raspberries that just keep coming through, and loads of tree seedlings as well, which I'm still picking out. I try to mulch this area really well with wood chip each year, and that does make pulling out these raspberries easier. I relocate some of them, but some of them just end up on the compost heap because there's just so many of them. As you can see at the side of the path here, I've got lots of sorrel. This self-seeds everywhere and is a nightmare, so I'm constantly trying to pull it out, especially because we don't particularly like it. We really like the French sorrel, which is the one with the big green leaves, but we're not as keen on this one, so sad times. I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere about these kind of distended buds. I'll try and add some comment on that. I don't want to say the wrong thing at this point. Here's some more of the sorrel that drives me crazy. I just try and get it out before it seeds, just to try and delay the problem. But it is really beautiful, and we do eat some of the leaves when they're very small, but once they get big they're just a bit too bitter for us. This is a raspberry patch, so I only grow autumn fruiting raspberries, and I mulch them every year with a Christmas tree to keep the soil ericaceous, so more acidic, which is what they like. And as these grow up, I sometimes add some canes to help support them if they get really, really big. But basically I just chop them down about February time to the ground, and they grow up, and they usually do self-support or lean a little bit on each other. And we get a really good crop from them from kind of end of July right through till the first frosts. So sometimes right to the beginning of December. On this side of the polytunnel, I have this quite dry bed. It has never kind of really taken off. This year I've tried to just add things that seem to grow well. I'm just showing you here, this is a bamboo. No, it's not. It's a willow that I've got growing here. I'm not sure I'm going to put that yet. This golden marjoram is just gorgeous and really brightens up any space. It smells amazing, and it's brilliant ground cover. So I'm trying to encourage that to grow through this rhubarb patch. I've got a little foxglove going on here and some random garlic. I don't know why that's in there. And I've just added more rhubarb to this patch. I did try growing artichokes here, but they didn't work out at all. And this is my beautiful comfrey. This is a Bocking 14, so it's sterile, which means it won't spread all over the place. It doesn't self-seed, it doesn't move basically. It gets bigger as a clump, but that's about it. So unless you dig up a bit of the root and replant it elsewhere, it's not going to cause any issue to you. And here we just got some garlic chives. I do have a few little patches of garlic chives dotted around, which get really pretty flowers, little white sort of chivy open type flowers that the bees really like. My polytunnel was here when we arrived. I was very lucky. I just paid the previous tenant of the allotment, I think it was about £100 to keep the polytunnel here. I'm not really sure if they'd have moved it, but I was happy to pay the £100. And then we built this shelter at the back of it after a year or so, just to give me more storage. As you can see, it's not the tidiest, but it really does the job. And we quite often get some birds, little blackbirds that nest up in the corner here. This is their nest from last year. So hopefully they'll come back again this year. I did start this as maybe it would work as a growing station, but it's just too shady. And then this is my beautiful shed, which was my 40th birthday present, and my greenhouse, which is attached to it. And my husband and my children built this for me, using some old windows and lots of wood. And it's absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love it. So I grow all sorts of things in here. So again, it's not really the tidiest at the moment, but it's got plenty going on. I start most of my seedlings in here. It's not the hottest greenhouse because it's down in the shade under one of the trees most of the time. But that means it doesn't overheat, so I tend to get quite hardy plants in here, and it gives them really good protection because it's made from wood, so it's quite well insulated. So yeah, I start most of my seedlings in here and then sometimes put them out to the polytunnel. It's got a lovely cosy area. I got some chairs from Facebook Marketplace and a little table that cost me about £20 or £30 for them all, and they're really comfy. And it's lovely to be able to come in here. It's right down by the river, so we can watch the birds, and yeah, it's just really peaceful. It's also really nice to be able to have little river walks now and again, and the children really like playing down in the river too, so that's really fun. We have a little cooker, and we could do some butties in here sometimes and put the kettle on for a cup of tea. And I love my bead curtain. It's a bit kitsch, but I really like it. There's always stuff on the steps though, and yeah, one day I'm definitely going to fall over. Here's some chilies. They really need potting on. These are the ones that I grew from my holiday seeds from a few years ago. And I've got cardoons back there. And these were some pots with tomatoes, dwarf tomatoes in from last year that I found that I'd forgotten to tidy away. And as you can see, a tomato must have fallen in there, and those are growing, so bonus. I've got some beetroot, lettuce. I'm going to take that and put it in the pot, like the big pot planters at home, so we can get to that nice and easily. This is some pak choi that has gone to seed, but the bees can enjoy that one. And then more brassicas. I've got so many brassicas this year. My brassica cage is going to be full to bursting. And then on this side, I've got a big area where I can put compost. And as you can see, it's made from kind of a polycarbonate material, I think that is. And of course, some bunting. So yeah, it's really solid. Just a really great space. I really love it. And this is from when we first got the allotment, all my children's handprints. So moving out to this part of the allotment, this was the original allotment, these few beds here in front of the polytunnel. And this big bed here wasn't here, it was 3 strips. So in line with the fence, there were 3 strips of beds. And my children had those beds and generally just dug them up for quite a long time. They did grow some things, but they really enjoyed just playing. And now I have this big bed, which we made a few years ago with some free decking boards that somebody was getting rid of and delivered to the site. So that's working really well. I'm enjoying having the bigger space, and I'm having a go at growing some crops kind of diagonally across it this year to make it look a bit more interesting. I've got some peas that have started to come up from the direct sowings, so that's quite exciting. And I've got loads of foxgloves in the two corners here, and this lovely geum, which is bright orange. You can see there it's just starting to open. So I really like having loads of flowers on the allotment. When we first had the allotment, I didn't grow as many, but I really think they're so beneficial. I like growing edible flowers as well, but especially for the pollinators. Over the years, I've moved completely over to no-dig as the method I use for my gardening. So I'm really into mulching the ground as much as possible, and I use a lot of wood chip for the paths. Here I've edged the paths with bricks, which I just really like the effect of, and we had free bricks, so this is some pak choi that's gone to seed, and I'm just leaving it for the bees, and we didn't obviously get any harvest from that. I also have this patch of dandelions for the bees for some early nectar source, and we use the leaves for the guinea pigs. We do try to dry some for the winter, but generally they just eat them. And then I have a little blackcurrant here that I leave for the birds at the moment. This bed is a bit of an issue in that nothing grows particularly well. So last year I used this old basket, like an old laundry basket, and filled it with manure and grew some courgettes in there, and that worked really well. So I'm going to do that again this year, and I'm also going to try and grow over this arch which I've moved. It's a very DIY arch, but hopefully I can grow something over it, possibly a squash if I can get it going again in that basket. I'll probably just add a bit more compost and a bit more manure to that. As you can see, it's made from all sorts. And then I've got a lovely holly here that my daughter planted a very long time ago. And various other bits and pieces. These old water bottles I use as cloches, just with the bottom sawn off. Oh yeah, another little look at the brick path, which I've extended and used in other areas of the allotment as well. And then this old archway wasn't really fit for purpose anymore, so I've moved it against the fence, and that's where my mashua grows. You can just see it coming up there now, and that just takes over the whole archway. I grow the rhubarb beneath it because it doesn't mind being shaded, and this is a perennial spinach, which is coming up really well, and that will hopefully cover the other side of the archway. Here's a load of lamb's lettuce that has self-seeded and is just going to go to flower and start seeding all over again. And it's really pretty. It comes up really easily in the very early spring, like late winter. I have a buddleia, which is massive. I just chop that back each year in the springtime, and that brings in loads of butterflies and bees. And then I have more rhubarb. So this rhubarb is the earlier variety. This comes up a good month before the first patch that I showed you. And this has got really established here. It's really happy here. And loads of primroses. These are just starting, I think, to finish, but this one is still absolutely beautiful. Here in this perennial bed, I also have some more garlic chives, which are really lovely. And I also just have a few random garlic bulbs, which I just left in there, and I'm just using for garlic greens. The Jerusalem artichokes are in this bed as well. They are growing under this rhubarb at the moment, but they will soon burst through and take over. They'll be absolutely giant. And I just keep this under control by pulling. So I harvest loads every year, and then if they're growing out where I don't want them, I just keep pulling them out or digging them out until kind of I'm reasonably happy. They are a bit naughty and they will come up where you don't want them, but on the whole, okay. And these are the broad beans. These are doing really well. These were from an early sowing this year. I've not had much success with autumn sowings, so I've gone for a spring sowing and it seems to have paid off, and they are flowering now. So hopefully there's a bit of damage on that one, but overall they've been pretty good, and hopefully I'll get a crop from those. And here is the first signs of the potatoes. As I said before, this video is a week or so old and these potatoes are well on their way now. So because I'm doing a no-dig potato, these are not in trenches. So they're just planted into the ground and I'm just covering them up as the leaves appear. And there's room in this bed for me to add a good couple of inches more compost and mulch. So I'll just keep adding that as they appear until the bed's full. Here I've got a little drawer that needs to be lined and filled with compost to make another bed. And I used pallets to add to the fence and old compost bags, which I just stapled in. It did have strawberries in last year. As you can see, they have not survived the winter. And my bunting's looking very sad, but I'm going to put some new plants in and some new bunting, and that will be lovely soon. These are the new blueberry bushes, which I got for about £1 each from B&M earlier in the year. So I'm very happy to see these are getting some blossom on. And this is their big brother, the big blueberry, which isn't as covered in blossom as last year. So I'm not sure we're going to get such a big crop from this one this year, but it was absolutely laden last year, so we'll wait and see. This bit of cage I used, and a little bug hotel there, to just put all the leaves in the autumn. And as you can see, they've really rotted down loads. More weeds. And these are the poached eggplants. So I just grow these for the pollinators because they're so pretty and they flower for such a long time. The flowers, I think the buds are just about coming now. I don't know if you can see there. So it won't be long until they're completely covered in flowers. Because I lay cardboard down on my paths and then mulch with the wood chip, it's only really blown in seeds that really cause a problem in the path. But round the edges sometimes I do get quite a bit of grass. So I have to deal with that. Happily, the poached eggplants have self-seeded along here too, which is just lovely, and they can stay. So this side of the allotment, where these 4 beds are, from this fence all the way back past the brassica cage, right down to the back there, all of this is the new part of the allotment. So the original allotment is over this side, so where the compost daleks are and the polytunnel, and all of this was added a couple of years ago. Well, I think about 5 years ago now, and it made such a big difference to the amount of space we have on the plot. I kind of can't believe now how small the plot was beforehand. But yeah, this extra space made a big difference. And the children each created their own square bed. My husband helped them to make them. And they each garden in their own little patch. And that's been a really good way to engage them in the allotment. They really like having ownership of their own little spot. And they grow all kinds of things. And it's been lovely to see how that's changed over the years. So they've gone from, being like Lego kingdoms and flower patches to now one of them has a pear tree in it and another one's a strawberry patch. And yeah, it's just really lovely. So as well now we have the brassica cage further down. And also it's been really good because right at the back of the plot, it's made a really nice area where we've been able to put a little pond and a swing. And we've just been able to grow so many more things because we've been able to spread out. Obviously, it would still be lovely to have even more space to grow even more things, but I definitely feel really, really lucky that we have the space that we have. And I'm honestly just so grateful to have had this space. As a young family growing up, it's been absolutely amazing. And I really hope that over the next section of our lives that it will still be a really nice family space. And although the children, especially older ones, don't have as much time to come down to the allotment now, I hope that they will continue to still enjoy coming from time to time, and that their little patches will still stay theirs, and that they will still grow things, and will be able to share that joy of growing things together. And I think that's probably the end of the little plot tour today. I think the only other thing to say is that I've made this little seating area you can see with the trellises, and a table there where I can put some seedlings that are hardening off or ready to go outside. And I've also made this area with the compost Daleks, where I'm going to grow some squash. And the idea here is that I'll be able to fill the compost Daleks with manure to make compost over the year, but while that's happening, I'll be able to grow some squash in there. And then behind the trellis is my compost heap, and I'm trying to be a bit more methodical with that this year and turn it more and add, a better mix of material, lots of brown and green rather than mostly brown, so that I'll be able to make more compost too. So yeah, I think that's about everything I've got to show you today, and I will do another plot tour hopefully next month to show you how much has changed, because so much changes at this time of year, and it will be lovely to see the difference. So despite my older children not being able to come down as much as they used to, the allotment still feels like a really family orientated space. And as you can see here, even though I'm doing the seed sowing, the children are mulling around, doing all kinds of bits and pieces and making things and tending to their own little patches and helping out with jobs. And it makes such a huge difference that they do help on the allotment. They are really hard working most of the time, and I am very lucky that they've become quite good gardeners, so they're quite capable too, which is great because I can just ask them to do a job and they kind of know what's expected and what needs to be done. And sometimes they have really good ideas as well. I don't always take them up on them because I like to do things my way too. But yeah, it is really nice to have them around. So here I am just finishing off this vlog with a little bit of seed sowing and potting on, which is the biggest job really at this point of the year. And I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you're able to get out into your growing space, whatever that is, and that you're able to enjoy it with your friends and family too. I'm really grateful to everybody who watches these vlogs and who subscribes to the channel. I also really appreciate all the feedback that people give, all the lovely comments, but also anything that you think I could improve on or that would make watching the videos better for you. Please do say. I'm very happy to hear your ideas. Like lots of other people around the country, my older children are going to be busy with exams the next few weeks, which means because I home educate, so am I. And so we won't be able to get quite as much gardening done, but I will try to keep on top of the vlogs, and I'm sorry it's been a little while since the last one, but hopefully I'll be able to get another one out by next week. So take care, have a lovely time in your garden, and see you soon. Bye.